Thank you. Bree, you were, no, it was Griselda, you and I were talking about learning languages. I want to give you, this first section will just be the breakfast book. I have learned, I think, 7 languages now. But of course, I'm older than dirt, so I had a long time to do it. But if you think about it, you can knock off a language every 3 years, and I'm only 21. So, jeez, sourpusses. Anyway, here's the idea. I actually teach in Humanism Mysticism a training session, which is part of religion, called The Perfect Day. But the breakfast book is an essential part of it. It's hard to find, you're reaching a point in your lives where it's hard to find the time to do what's important. And this is about, one of the things we help you learn is to find time that you didn't know you had and to use it for what you want. One thing, if you have a priority, as you do, Zelda, about, hey, close the door, please, for me, Ryan. Yeah, that's fine. You know, even when I was in the dorms, if somebody walked by whistling, I couldn't stand it when I was writing. I'd go out and just throttle the guy. Thank you, Ryan. I discovered a long time ago that when I went, I'm one of those people, I'm not a morning person. And I saw, as I looked at my time, I used the kind of time planning books that business people used in those days. Alan Lakin, How to Get Control of Your Time and Your Life, one of the pioneers, to look at the day and to see what the time was being spent on. And I discovered that because I wake up so slowly, I would buy a newspaper, and there were newspapers in those days. I would eat at Coco's in Newport Beach every morning, buy a newspaper, and I would read all this crap that I wasn't the slightest bit interested in because I was trying not to start thinking about the day until I had some food in me. And so there's always some woman like a Kardashian now who they say, has she gone too far? They always need somebody like that. Her new dress, has she gone too far? Now when you go all the way back to, this was 1974, that woman was Cher. You know Cher, the singer? She was huge. She was in newspapers every 3 days. Cher, has she gone too far? Her new dress. She exposed her belly button on TV. This was a big deal. You weren't supposed to expose your belly button. The woman on I Dream of Jeannie, all those years, was not allowed to show her belly button. Has she gone too far? I knew this. I mean, you can see, I still know that crap by heart because every morning I woke up and I read this and I didn't give a damn if she goes too far. You know, every sporting stuff that I didn't even care about. What I realized was I was just trying not to think about the day. So, time can only be freed in advance. I would buy a book that I wanted to read. And you can see the millions of notations on every page and every inch of this thing. But especially what I found worked was languages. Languages are best learned little by little, a little bit in the morning. And if I brought my Italian book down and just did 10 minutes, 15 minutes of Italian, you'd go through the whole book. I learned Chinese later, Wojiang Putonghua. I learned Chinese in the morning that way, and Russian and Latin and all the others. And you may not be, if you're not a morning person, examine what you do when you wake up in the morning. Time if you were wasting 45 minutes of time, I asked the class, oh, this thing isn't even on. I asked the class, you would notice it, right? At what point does time become invisible? It seemed to be under half an hour. I taught this to a guy named Dave Mazingo. He was a dentist, and Dave really did well with it. He found that he came back from lunch, and he was always there about 15 minutes, 20 minutes before the hygienist got there. And he would go into the waiting room and read People magazine or something. He replaced that with a book that he really wanted to read, that he'd always wanted to read. So you read them to pieces. And Dave started reading everything that he always really felt he wanted to read. And when you do it, making notes in the margins, just a few pages each day, there's certain kinds of books you want to roar through, of course, certain suspense or Raymond Chandler. But with this kind of thing, where it's so dense, Madame Bovary, going through it when you get the opportunity, 3 pages, 4 pages in the morning, the new thing that's happening to her, you'll know that forever. And when you write in the margins, it stays read. If you want to learn languages, and you're doing, and the longest I ever stuck to it was about 4 months, and then I'd get bored. I'd been doing it too much. But when you do it even 4 months a year, year after year after year, God willing, you'll be alive a long time. And then think of all of the stuff you'd have read. The breakfast book is a great technique. Or find the invisible block of time that's under a half hour, which you've been neglecting. Now, you can overdo this. I noticed I had an old car, and it needed about 10 minutes, those cars in those days, to warm up in the morning. And I thought I could read a poem during that time. So there are certain beautiful poems which are inevitable, which are endlessly now connected in my mind with gas fumes and a car motor. You don't want to overdo it. There's certain things you don't want to overdo. But finding the invisible gifts of time that way, that's very useful. Every day, every time I ever come here, I get tapes from the library, and you have a little adapter, and I listen to one of those lectures on a basic topic. On the way back, I do also. It actually makes the time go faster than listening to the same damn songs or to some idiot screaming about sports or politics. And then just over the years, that's the way to do it. Small. That's the way you already know how to do sports. You don't just go into the gym and lift weights for 8 hours straight. It's repeated. In fact, I'll tell you, this is part of the lecture. Let's see. What's the name of the guy? I think he's married to Miley Cyrus. Hemsworth? Yeah, okay. Muscled and gorgeous looking guy. Would you like to be built like that?
Me?
Yeah.
Not me, but I get the appeal.
You would like to. Okay, you would like to be built like
I
that?
like that. I mean, my body, I'd look funny. Better than that, sorry.
In all the years, just like this is the guy, and you remember his response to the... I don't want to say it recorded for posterity. That was the only time anyone ever mentioned fellatio in those circumstances. Okay, so you would like to have that.
Yeah, sure.
Well, if you go out and you read Men's Health, Liam Hemsworth's, whatever his name is, if you have 4 hours every day, yes, you can do that. But you're not going to do that because you don't want to be a movie star. I can tell you the exercise regime which will make you look like that. Whatever you'll actually do, even if it's 10 minutes, whatever you'll actually do, instead of doing the Men's Health regime for 3 weeks and then collapsing or tearing your muscle, whatever you'll actually do, and then to find the invisible block of time when you would do it 3 times a week, forever. You know that if all you did was curls, how old are you now?
22.
By the time you were 30, you would have arms like that. And I like to use lifting weights as an illustration because when I told people about how they could write their novel if they just did 50, not everybody turns out to be a good novelist. But for people your age, if you will do the weights, if you can, I've never stuck to it for more than 4 months in a row and then I get tired of it. Within 4 months, people will comment. Within 9 months, people will praise you and you'll have to change your jacket size and all that sort of thing. So, when I started working very seriously with a trainer, Jesus, I was already 66 years old, and I gained 6 inches across my chest, and by that, it took six years, but within that, by the time I was that old, I had no testosterone left in me at all. It was amazing that anything would happen. But you guys at your age, yeah, you do that for 6 years, you'll be incredibly buff, all right? So that is the tactic of the breakfast book for learning languages. Okay, Cole, would you switch it off? Because it'll be easier to put up online later if we switch it off.